Hey everyone, it's Josh Andrew here. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Conversations with Josh Andrew. We're all about leadership, having meaningful conversations, and getting just a little bit better every day. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share this podcast. Your support helps us reach more people and continue bringing your great content. Thanks for listening, and let's keep the conversation going. Let's get into this week's episode. Well, hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of Conversations. I'm really excited. I'm going to give you 7 promises that you can promise your leadership team or your core team, whatever you call them. Really, these are ideas that when you commit to these principles or these ideas, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be creating healthy leaders. I always find it so weird when health is not the goal. A lot of times what we'll do is we'll say we're for health, but the reality is the back of our mind, we're for growth. Growth is always a great byproduct of health. Health is not a byproduct of forcing growth. And again, we need to but before we jump in, define what growth to you is. To me, I'm all about health. I'm all about building healthy leaders. It is a deep conviction of mine and my wife that whatever we do, one, we're going to do it as if we're doing it unto the Lord, but then 2, we're going to make sure that people are becoming healthy disciples, healthy leaders. I would use those 2 words pretty similarly. I understand that there's different views or perspectives on that, but for us anyways, it is our absolute goal to build health. So I'm going to give you 7 principles or really 7 promises that you can give your team, your core team, like I said, your staff, that I believe this will be huge for you. Because we know this, we work best when we give room for people to be their best. Really, the health of a team or the strength of a team is the unity of the team, but it's also the passion and the commitment to becoming better as individually. We are the best corporately when we're best individually. That means that we are actually as strong as our weakest link. That actually is true in an organization, especially when it comes to volunteers, servant leaders in church. So again, my heart and your heart as a leader should always be to pull the best out of your teams. So number 1, write this down. I want to give you room to be your best and not micromanage. We don't have to be the experts in every single conversation, every single one-on-one, because the reality is if I've asked you to do it, I've trusted you to do it. So again, I need to give you space and I need to give you margin to be the best you can be. Nobody likes micromanagers. I don't care if you make 7 figures a year or you're a volunteer, everything in between. We do not want to be micromanaged. I don't want to be micromanaged. I don't want somebody hovering over my desk 24/7 asking me what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, why I'm doing it, questioning my motives. To me, that sounds really like an insecure leader. Usually, anyways, the person who is micromanaging you is a person who doesn't have trust, has some really bad perspectives or even ideologies on leadership, because again, we don't want to be micromanagers. We want to be people who understand that I've asked you to do it, I've trusted you to do it, which means if I've asked you to lead, I trust you to lead. If I've asked you to do a specific task for our organization, that means I'm going to trust you to do it. Again, trust is not acquired. I'm going to automatically give you trust because I know you're a leader. God's designed you. You're one of one. So when I automatically trust you and there's not preconceived notions or micromanaging, what that is when I know I'm trusted, I serve more with due diligence, with intentionality, with passion, with conviction. But when I know that somebody doesn't trust me, I have this back-minded thought of, then why am I here? Like, why am I doing this if I don't fully have your trust? So again, I'm going to give you room to be your best and not micromanage. Number 2, support and develop you to be your best. The question is, how do I provide room for you to get better? Again, I'm going to give you support and develop you. My job as a leader is to build leaders, not acquire followers. So me, as a leader of leading in an organization, my responsibility is to build the people who are underneath me, who are next to me, who are above me. Everybody who I interact with, my goal is for them to leave the conversation a little bit better. And a little bit better might be a little bit more encouraged, a little bit more valued, a little bit more seen But whatever it is, the two words are support and develop. I'm going to support you. And again, that might actually come down to when you communicate something or do something that I might not have done my way. I'm not going to question it. I'm not going to challenge it publicly. Privately, I might ask you, hey, can you walk me through how we got to this problem or this idea or this creative concept? Because I just want to make sure I understand how you got there, because if I understand how you got there, what's going to end up happening is I'm gonna actually get behind it, because the best idea wins. My ideas don't always win. That's a bad leader if their idea is the idea that always wins. Or the way I'd say it is again, servant leaders always take the high road. The high road starts with great leadership, great listening, and like I said, support and development. Development, by the way, comes down to, and we're going to talk about a lot of different things here, but development is really the same word as discipleship. How did Jesus develop his disciples? He brought them in his world. He made a clear ask, follow me. And that was how they were developed. They were developed not by what he communicated most of the time, it was by the way he lived. So right leading always points to right living. If you want to be the best leader in your organization, the best leader you can possibly be, understand that the gap between your private life and your public life is going to always pinpoint your authority and your anointing. As a leader, especially in the church, as a pastor, I don't want to just be good at what I do. I want to be anointed at what I'm doing, which means I have God's hand and approval behind what I'm doing, which generally pushes what I'm trying to articulate, the authority behind my voice, a little bit more direct, because what happens is when God is actually anointed you for something, no man could ever push back on it. No man could ever disagree, or not disagree with the thought, disagree with the spirit behind it, which is always, again, we're striving to partner with whatever the Holy Spirit is doing as leaders. So support and develop you to be your best, not my best. Number 3, tell you straight for when you ask for it or when it's needed. Something special happens in an organization or a team when we can just all be honest. If we could just be straightforward. I just was on a webinar this morning with a great leader from Switzerland, and he said, a value in our staff is there's no elephants in the room. And I understand there's people who listen to this podcast all over the world, but what that means is, imagine you and I are at a coffee shop or a cafe, and an elephant is in the room, but nobody's saying, hey, there's an elephant, like a physical elephant in the room. We probably need to say, we need to get out of here, or we need to figure out how to get the elephant out of the room. So for you, there should be no elephants in the room in your organization. If you can sense something, say something. If you see something, say something. Because again, something special happens when we can just all be honest. Always think about having the right conversation at the right time. Like I said, you never want to challenge somebody's really character or I would say traits anyways in public. Challenging always happens one-on-one. Confrontation should be a one-on-one thing. And nobody likes confrontation, but just some people are more comfortable with the idea of confrontation. I default to be a very confrontational person because I truthfully care about winning and I care about health. So when I care about our organization winning and the health of a leader, I'm willing to confront you, because you do not love somebody if you're not willing to confront them. If you have something in your teeth at dinner and I don't tell you, does that mean that I love you? Because I'm willing for everyone else to see something that you have a blind spot that I'm not willing to address. Everybody else sees it besides yourself. Just as much, if there's an attitude problem, if there's a character thing, if there's a culture thing, and I'm not willing to address that, that means I really don't love you and I do not really love the organization. And like I said, when you ask for it, as a leader, I should always be asking for feedback, but then when it's also needed. I've heard this all the time with parents. I can't challenge or correct my kid because I've been gone a couple days. I haven't put enough deposits in to do a withdrawal. That's just not true. If someone is misbehaving or has an attitude problem and you haven't had enough deposits, you got to be willing to risk the relationship for them to be able to see what you see. And again, it's as simple as saying, hey, here's what I'm seeing. So again, something special happens when we can all be honest. You have to think about the right time. I would honestly say 24 hours. And again, there needs to be a conclusion. And the conversation, hey, in 2 weeks on this date, I want to follow up with you. so we can address this and maybe come to a conclusion. It's a good thing to have frustration because it points that you're caring. Be after solutions, not trying to make myself feel better. Okay. It's so awesome that we want confrontation or you are frustrated at something and I'm listening to you because it points that you care. It's scary when somebody doesn't have frustration towards something not producing at the level of excellence or the bar that we've all set, because that just shows that you just really don't care. And like I said, let's be after solutions, not trying to make you feel better or me feel better. We want to be after solutions, and when we're after solutions, the stuff that we think matters doesn't really matter. I always like to say you want to major in majors, not major in minors, which means I don't need to make a big deal about something that our organization really isn't even striving to achieve. Number 4, always believe the best in you and for you. Question for you listening to this podcast or watching on YouTube, do you believe in your team more than they believe in themselves? You have to believe in your team. When you look at your leader across the table and they're leading a team in your church or in your organization, do you believe in them more than they believe in themselves? This always goes back to your prayer life. I tell our directors all the time, man, you got to be praying for your people. Man, you got to get an on time, on par word for your team, individually and corporately. Because the reality is the prophetic will always trump a great idea or a great principle. Man, if I got a word for you, if I got a word for encouragement for you, if I believe in you and you know I believe in you, man, I just believe you're just going to go so much more farther than just constantly being the negative Nancy. And you got to sow this into people, by the way. This takes time. This takes months, not minutes. Hey, I believe in you so much because, or hey, when you did this just truly showed me, but also honor God when you said this to this person. You know, again, believing in somebody costs you nothing. So much about building church planting, organizational health, starting a business, all comes back to cost. It costs us something. It costs us our time, our talents, our treasures, all of it. It does cost us something, but believing in somebody costs you nothing. Be a person who believes in your team. Be a person who encourages your team, sows prophetically into people's lives, and you will be the best leader in the room. I promise you. So I'm going to always believe the best in you and for you. Number 5, I'll provide space for you on your good days and your bad days. Give room for mistakes. Imagine if you didn't have permission to have a bad day. Again, I had to go through this because I don't give myself permission to have bad days. My therapist was like, dude, you understand that your bad day, some people, that's their life. Like 365 days a year, this is how their best is. And for you, your bad day, that's a bad day, not a bad year or a bad decade or a bad life. What we need to do, though, is we need to give people the margin to have a bad day. You see somebody and they showed up, they're on at Sunday, and they have a bad attitude. That's different than just having a bad day overall. They're in the office, and you can just tell they might have not slept well. Something's going on in their life, and we should know that as pastors. But again, give them room to. It's okay to have a bad day. It's not okay to stay there, and it's not okay to not tell somebody that. I can't assume your attitude or how you're feeling every single day. So again, you got to give people room to have mistakes. Last 2 here. I will be forgetful. Don't be a leader who hangs over somebody. You have to give grace. I've seen this a ton where, again, I follow patterns, not potential. And just as much as if you're a leader, we should always be living for patterns, not potential. Yes, there's a future version of myself that I'm striving to get towards and become better every single day. And I have a responsibility today to be a leader. A leader is somebody who is a leader today, but also becoming a leader, and that never changes. But again, you need to be forgetful. Just as much, imagine if you're in a relationship or you're in a marriage and the person you're dating, married to, your spouse, doesn't forget all the times that you made a mistake after you even asked for forgiveness or after you had the conversation. That is not a healthy marriage. It's not a healthy relationship, and it's not a healthy team dynamic. You as a leader need to be forgetful. What this means is you need to have the conversation, and then remove it, submit it to God, and it's done. Talk about it, then move on. Talk about it, then move on. That's it. And again, you always got to remind them why. This is our last point, and then we'll go through them again, but continue to remind them of why. Egos get sandpapered away when we start with why. And continue to remind ourselves, this is a team. Again, we are strongest of our weakest link. Again, egos get sandpapered away. If your team has an ego, if there's somebody on your team who has an ego, we start going back to the why. And again, you never graduate from the basics as a leader, especially in church, because you have volunteers who aren't in every conversation, aren't in every single meeting. So we always got to go back to the why. Again, egos, your ego even, will get sandpapered when you can articulate the why. And by the way, your team doesn't know the why if they can't actually share it verbatim. If they can't finish your sentence when you're explaining a core value, a cultural responsibility, the vision, they don't know it. They might have a hint of your why, but they don't have the heart of your why. And when teams have the heart of a why, what ends up happening is the basics that you're demanding or asking them to execute isn't even an ask anymore. They're just doing it because why? Their ego is sandpaper. I don't know what it is in our human, really innate nature to have an ego, to assume really that we are a big deal, because one, we are. God has called us, and we have a unique purpose that nobody else on this world has. But the reality is God could use anybody at any time in any place. Really, God doesn't need you. He wants you. Just as much of a leader, I really don't need you. But really, we want you. We want you to thrive. We want you to succeed. So I'm going to read through these 7 again, and we'll end with something specific here. But number 1, I want to give you room to be your best and not micromanaged. We are not micromanagers. A micromanager is what that is. They manage in the micro, which tells me you're not a leader. Number 2, support and develop you to be your best. The question is, how do I provide room for you to become better? Number 3, tell you straight for when you ask for it or when it's needed. Something special happens when we can all be honest. Number 4, always believe the best in you and for you. Do you believe in your team more than they believe in themselves? Number 5, I'll provide space for you on your good days and your bad days. Number 6, I will be forgetful. And number 7, continue to remind them of the why. Context of church is unique because you're leading and you're following. Because egos get sandpapered away when we start with why. Last additional point here that I think will be fun to talk about. We get on really well when we have fun. We're going to be the best we can be when we have fun. We work hard, but if it isn't fun at the center, it'll dry out. Again, hard work, we make hard work look fun. What does that mean? Everything we're doing it with passion and fun behind it. Practically, this might look like having music and load in or having food around something, because I don't know why, but automatically when there's food, it just seems to be a little bit more fun. But again, we work hard and we make hard work look fun. But if you don't have fun, it'll get dry. Unity is an uncompromising goal. So unity is the goal here. Unity in vision, unity in spirit, unity in mission, unity in convictions, unity in values. All of that stuff goes back to the one word, unity. When you have unity, your team is actually headed in the right direction, which is the right direction, by the way, is the same direction. You've heard it 1,000 times. Alignment determines assignment, which means if we're headed in the right direction, the speed and the growth will be a byproduct of heading in that right direction. And again, you got to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. In the conversation, maybe there's something that you did that I didn't appreciate or didn't like or didn't think that you put in enough effort in. I'm going to, again, always give you the benefit of the doubt. And last 2 here, back each other first, ask questions later. I'm going to back you publicly and privately first, then privately, like I said, I might have a question or need more context or clarity on it. But again, we got to defend each other fiercely. You know you have unity in your team when you're defending one another, when you're pushing for one another, when you're saying, hey, I believe in you so much. you have infinite value in this organization. I'm going to read through these bonus points one more time. Like I said, these are just additional things that I believe truly will add immense value to your organization, because it all goes back to this: healthy things grow. I've never met a successful leader who is actually more infatuated by the growth or the numbers more than the health. And again, you got to be able to define health. That's a whole nother episode we're wrapping up here. But again, we got to have fun. If it isn't fun, I don't want to do it because it'll dry out. Unity should be the uncompromising goal. Unity is the goal. Unity should be the number one thing that your directors, your pastors, your staff thinks about. How can I defend this person instead of being right in this conversation? How can I give somebody the benefit of the doubt? I'm going to back you first and then ask questions later. And I'm going to defend you fiercely when you're in the room and when you're not. Again, I believe all of these things, what this will end up doing is it'll create health in your organization, because it'll create health in a one-on-one relationship. Again, healthy things grow. I'm going to say that one last time and then we'll wrap up. Healthy things grow. Health is our goal. Unity is our goal. I believe in each and every one of you so much. We're hitting, I think this is 104 episodes. It's been so much fun. My wife and I are planting a brand new life-giving church in Central Phoenix in 18 days with some of our incredible friends and lead pastors, Chris and Connor Moore. It's been so much fun to lead and to be a part of something. This is our third church plant that we're a part of. Really, the first two were the same church, different campuses. And now this in Phoenix, which has been so much fun. We believe in each and every single one of you. If you can, please like and subscribe to the YouTube video. Maybe leave a review on podcasts. I know that it helps the algorithm. Maybe leave a comment if you made it this far. I believe in you so much. Thank you. We'll see you next week.